video, we'll be looking at some techniques for injecting some analog warmth into the synth part we have playing in Native Instruments Massive. We'll begin by taking a look at some features on Massive we can use to add a more analog feel, and then we'll look at some other plugins that we can apply to this synth part to subtly enhance a warmer and more 3D feel. We'll begin by duplicating this instance of Massive. We can then go back later on and A/B to see what processing we've applied has done to the sound. I solo up this new instance of Massive here. It's a very simple patch. A sawtooth wave is routed through a low pass filter. We have some envelope modulation on the filter. First thing I'm going to look at is applying a different filter type in here. At the moment it's set to a low pass. Applying a DAF filter. The DAF filter is modelled on analog filters, so it's going to give us a slightly different tone. I'm also going to add a bit of white noise. I always feel this adds an instant, authentic analog vibe to synth parts. I'm also going to look at this feedback control down here. This routes the output of the synth back into itself. It's a feature on the classic Mini Moog synthesizer that has been included on many software synthesizers to try and recreate that vibe. Increasing this amp here gives us a really nice warm sound. With these things set up, I'm now going to look at some plugins that I can apply to this synth part to add a more organic analog feel. I'm going to begin with some saturation. One of my favourite plugins for this task is FabFilter's Saturn plugin. The idea with the processing here is not to drastically change the sound, but just to add a subtle amount of depth and warmth. In its default state, this will be fine. The warm tape algorithm set here. Subtle amount of drive. And it's just adding a certain amount of richness to this synth part. I'm now going to place a tape machine emulation plugin on here for some analog tape style saturation. Slate Digital's VTM is one of my favourites for this task. Don't want to change the sound drastically, just add a bit of warmth. Change the speed to 15 IPS and play around with some of the tape type and machine type settings. I'm also going to disengage the output control. I find it always adds quite a lot of volume, this plugin. The final thing I'm going to add on my plugin chain here is a compressor. Ableton's glue compressor will do nicely here. I go for a fairly fast attack, a medium release or medium to fast release. With the ratio set to 4, tweak the threshold until I have 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction. Again, it's a subtle effect. It's gluing the sound and just adding to that analog feel. And with these plugins applied here and the changes that we've made on our instance of Massive, changing the filter type, adding some white noise in the feedback, now let's compare this new synth part to our previous synth part to see what we've brought to the sound. It's much deeper, it's much denser and richer, and it's just a couple of very simple applications of these plugins and a couple of tweaks on Massive that have really added to the analog vibe in this synth part. That's all for now. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Any questions, please get in touch, and thanks for watching.